Okay, madam.
Peachy.
Peachy. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Burke County Board of Commissioners, let me welcome you to our regular meeting for Tuesday, November the 18th, 2014, which I'll call to order at this time. Madam Clerk, all the commissioners are present, along with the county attorney and the county manager, the deputy county manager. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please silence all your mobile devices for me. Turn them on vibrate, check them all at this time. And if you are a speaker, when you come to the front table, please come to the microphone or at the podium and get as close to the microphone as you can. For our invocation and pledge of allegiance this evening, we have Pastor Mike Thompson, who is the senior pastor at Faith Presbyterian Church, and we also have a group from Rutherford College Elementary School, where Gina Gallagher is the principal. So we'll start out with our invocation, and as soon as the invocation is over with, the children can come forward and we'll do our pledge. So if you'll stand with me for the invocation. Pastor Mike.
Please bow with me in prayer. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, three in one, we come to you this evening imploring that you would be present with us, that you would enable those who are presenting and making decisions to do those according to your will and for your glory. We ask, Father, for the benefit of Burke County, that you would bless this county, that you would enable your word to go forth, and that your Son, Jesus Christ, would be honored and believed in. We pray this in His name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, guys, if you can turn around this way towards the flag, okay, and then we'll turn back around when you finish.
Stand, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if you guys would kind of gather together, we're going to come down and let parents take pictures, and we're going to get a picture. So y'all squeeze in, and we'll be right there. Then we're going to put your picture on the wall. Look out there, smile big. All right, pass the ball.
That's right.
All right, anybody else got one more over here? Everybody look the other way. Hey, Jim, get over here. I hope the audience will leave.
I think I'll be good since we don't.
Paul, sit on that side because we just lost that whole side over there. Okay, moving on to item number 4 is the approval of the meeting minutes. In front of you, gentlemen, you have the October 7th, 2014 pre-agenda and the October 21st, 2014 regular meeting. I think you've had time to take a look at those, so I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no changes or deletions or to those minutes, I'll make a motion to approve them as printed.
Okay, everybody's heard the motion by Wayne. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. Madam Clerk, that'll be 5-0. Moving to the approval of the agenda, the only supplemental information we have was the DIG grant agreement, and I think you all, Kay has given you a copy of that. So you've had time to look at the agenda. I will entertain a motion for the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we approve the agenda with the DIG amendment agreement.
You've all heard the motion by Vice Chairman Taylor. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hands. That'd be 5-0, Madam Clerk. Under item number 6, we have no presentations tonight. Moving on to item number 7 is our scheduled public hearings. The first one will be by our county manager, which is the Development Incentive Grant and public hearing. County Manager Steen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you have before you for a public hearing a request by Clark Irwin and his business partners to partake in the DIG Development Incentive Grant Program that was adopted by the City of Morganton and Burke County back, I believe, in 2010. This is to encourage particular types of development in certain areas of the county and the town. I want to, if it's all right, turn over more of the presentation to Mr. Irwin to talk to you about what he is proposing, and if you have questions, you can ask him about those. I know our county attorney has worked with the city attorney and the actual language of the actual development incentive agreement that you have to consider. But Mr. Irwin, if you would be kind enough to join us and go over when you're ever ready, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if you want to open the public hearing first or have Clark talk to you about it.
Let's go ahead and receive Clark's presentation, and then we'll open the public hearing, and then after that we'll take questions. Okay, Clark, if you want to come to the table, or you want to stay right there?
Visual.
Okay.
This is what's here now.
Yeah,
And this is what's proposed.
All right.
we have that.
Clark, I think we have copies of these on our computer. Kay, that is right, isn't it? Of the same presentation here. I'm almost sure we do, Clark.
Well, I am Clark Irwin. I live at 742 Bost Road. The proposed development plan before you involves the old Drexel Alpine plant, number 7. It was the upholstery plant for Drexel. They initiated that operation in 1949. It was built on top of a Alpine textile mill building. I say on top of, it was built around the Alpine textile mill building. That textile company went into bankruptcy in 1932. It had actually initiated as the Donovan Cotton Mill in 1887. And so what we have done is maintained the core building, which is the long building that looks so very ugly from Fleming Drive when you drive by. We're starting to knock holes in walls and open it up so we can put the existing, the windows back the way they were originally. Beautiful building, well built, has architectural features that are worth preserving, and so it is now a part of the National Registry of Historic Places. It was accepted from nomination, well, I think it's about 2 years ago. The plan is to go back and to develop around that building also the remaining Drexel buildings. The primary use will be for residential. The initial phase will involve some 35 residential apartments. There will also be space for commercial use. We believe there will be 2 restaurant locations in the building. There will be office space. There will be some retail space. Interestingly, the building is situated at an intersection that also allows, we believe, for future expansion. We think that there may be additional area adjacent to the mill that can be developed, some 13 to 15,000 square feet. And then there's a 7-acre parcel adjacent to it that is also available for development. The challenge that we have is simply the economic circumstance that we find ourselves in here now. We're a Tier 1 county. When the banks look at the opportunity that we believe is there is some reticence on their part because they wonder whether or not the county can absorb 35 new apartments. These will be a little bit nicer than average apartments, and we hope that it will cater to some of the retirees that want to move to the area. We hope that some of the professional folks over at the new Broughton Hospital will take advantage of this. There are a lot of young folks that would like to move into the downtown because Morganton is a walkable community. In any event, the short of it is we are working on financing for this project. We haven't received it yet. Part of the sources of repayment of bank loans will depend on this DIG grant, so that if we in fact are successful with this program, the tax base will be dramatically enhanced and you'll receive more taxes, and then you will grant to us a portion of those taxes, and that will help us repay the bank loans until the project is stabilized. We're not sure how long stabilization would take. It may be 3 to 5 years. I hope sooner than that. But we do believe that the project is going to begin to show positive cash flow in a reasonable amount of time.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open up a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the Development Incentive Grant for proposing a mill renovation project for the Alpine Mill location? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing, Madam Clerk. All right, at this time, gentlemen, does anybody have any questions for Clark? Anyone?
Mr. Chairman, if I might
You
make
may.
a comment rather than a question. Mr. Clark, looking at this presentation, it has everything I need in it to understand it. It's an excellent presentation. And the buildings you've done before is an excellent example of how you're taking these buildings and making them useful again. And not only useful, they're certainly an excellent addition to the city and the county. So I thank you for that. And I'm going to lean on JR over here when I ask him if he has reviewed your agreement incentive, and all is well. But I commend you on your presentation.
Well, thank you. We've been blessed, and that's a fact.
Yes.
And Mr. Taylor, we have gone through this agreement, Mr. Feeney for the city and me, and we have it where we think both the county and the city can support it.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Well, Mr. Chairman, Clark, I certainly appreciate you for the things you do in the county, because it certainly helps the county, and we appreciate it very much. But you raised the very interesting point. Just down the road there's some vacant property, as you mentioned, but you understand there's a vacant furniture factory just on down the road there that we hope one day that someone will look at that and continue to build in that area over there, because it is a good place, and I think there's a lot of room for growth there along that street.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate all you've done do for the county very much.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion to approve a development incentive grant for Alpine Mill LLC as presented, and authorize the county manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the board, presented by Wayne. All in favor, raise your right hands. Madam Clerk, that'll be 5-0. Mr. Clark Irwin, it's yours.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So very much. Moving on to item number 2, community development, is the approval of the Lake James Loop Trail Master Plan and public hearing, presented by Scott Carpenter, Deputy County Manager and Planning Director. Scott?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. It's a pleasure to see everyone tonight. And I'm back again. I believe at our last get-together, I gave you a pretty good overview of the Lake James Loop Trail Master Plan and what it's about. But the primary objective of the Lake James Loop Trail Master Plan is to provide a conceptual framework and implementation plan to guide the future development of the trail. The Lake James Loop Trail will be an easy to moderate multi-use hiking and mountain biking trail with a natural mineral soil surface that circumnavigates Lake James within Burke County. It will also provide a multitude of economic, recreational, health, environmental, community, and transportation benefits. The Lake James Loop Trail will serve residents and visitors and represent a cooperative venture between Burke County, Duke Energy, Crescent Communities, North Carolina State Parks, North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, private landowners, area residents, and volunteers. One of the things that's important to remember about the master plan is that it's really a fluid type of plan, and it's just a blueprint of what needs to take place. Most of all the work will come as we're implementing the plan, and there will be a lot of changes to that plan. Are we able to bring up the map? Does that come up on screens for you all to see closer by any chance?
No.
No? But since I last saw you gentlemen, I just want to explain how fast things can change. I've met with Duke Energy, State Parks since then, and we've already relocated since our last meeting 5 miles of trail. So the 5 miles of trail essentially were on the wildlife lands. So you've been hearing about the gun range and shooting range and things like that. Part of the trail went that way, so we had 4 miles of trail there. After meeting with Duke, Duke is now committed to moving the trail onto their lands, and it will now go from the other side of North Carolina 126 to lakefront, a huge difference. So we now moved 4 miles of lakefront trail. The other difference is I had been showing along the dams that the primary route was going to run along the dams. Well, after meeting with Duke Energy officials, we knew that that was not a practical type of thing at this time, so we have now run only, we showed a primary route and an alternate route. Now we're only showing one route, which will be below the dams, and it's on an existing road that was put in for them to reinforce the dams. In other words, we don't have to build that section of trail. And the few areas of trail that have to bypass the FERC areas that we have to stay off of, Duke is going to build those sections themselves and put in for us since we can't stay on their road. The other thing is we're now coming to Bridgewater, and we're going to make our way up to North Powerhouse there. So Duke didn't own that land when we started these meetings. They have purchased that land, and now they're going to work with us to bring the trail up there. These changes also help get the trail to that 26.2 mile marathon distance that we have been looking at. We've now moved it to 26 miles, and we're sure that it's going to be 26.2 miles. One of the other changes, just to show you how fluid things are, we thought we had 0 right-of-way on North Powerhouse Road. Turns out we have 70% of the right-of-way on North Powerhouse Road, which means the alternate route that we showed going down to the Catawba River, where the Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail would run and back up, is probably a route that we're not going to consider when we update the plan already. So the plan can come in and out of date very quickly based upon what I find out as I'm in the field securing easements, meeting with people, and finding out what's real. So all these changes may be a lot, but the good thing about them is it gives us something that changes a drawing of a line around a lake saying this is an area for a trail to what's based in reality. So it's based in GIS, it's based in surveys, it's based in easements that have been obtained, and that's the stuff I'm verifying as we go along. We're in pretty good shape, I think, right now as far as those goes. The other significant change occurred last week when I met with Carol Tingley from the state parks, and Carol was the acting director of state parks. She's now deputy director of state parks, and Brian Strong, and Brian is the chief planner of trails for the state. After meeting with them and going around the lake and showing them our proposal, they're convinced that turning this into a state park unit is indeed very possible. And she stated to me that of all the projects they've looked at, which is dozens a year people propose for state park status, that this one probably stands the best chance in 7 years of any project they've seen. And so in other words, this would be the first state park in 7 years added to the system. And it would be added under a Republican administration, which is in and of itself a big deal. It also would move forward without a funding element. So it would not be tied to an appropriation bill, which gives it even higher status of moving forward on both sides of the aisle for approval. So I am drafting a proposal right now with Carol that she'll run through the powers to be down there in Raleigh, and then she will get back with me on drafting the bill itself. So what I've drafted so far this week is a proposal for state park status, and I sent that to her. So those are big changes, believe it or not, but there's a lot of benefits to moving under that state park status. And one of them is that you'll have a consistent design standard, you'll have a consistent group that advertises and markets this trail. You'll also receive some money in the form of easements and the ability to pay for easements. So there's a few things that are very beneficial, but one of the good things is it stops the trail from being hijacked by various groups and being changed along the way. Okay? So I just wanted to point out that this thing can change a lot even after the adoption of this. This isn't how most of your plans work, but this one will be revised every year in the early stages, maybe more often as we move forward, and I'll just bring those changes to you. All right, so to date, what we're doing is we've written the master plan. We have the conceptual design of the trail, where it will be, what it will look like, how it will be marked, and those things are complete. The efforts that we're spending a lot of time on now are actually securing the easements. You all know as well as I do that any road or anything to any place is only as good as the next easement. And then if somebody blocks it, they stop your progress. We have secured, I believe, about 87% of the right-of-way easements through memorandums of understanding, direct easement, or previous dedicated road right-of-ways that were existing. So that's a big deal. There's one or two places that can get us caught as we're going around the loop trail. I'm in negotiations now with a major property owner to take care of that last one. I'm told that he may be on board, and this is going to require another reroute of the trail, which is actually going to take it over to Lake James Family Campground. And it will probably follow along Chris Daly's campground, which is sort of a good thing because it puts a trail by a campground and also an area that's really a commercial in nature, so it provides a place that in the future you might be able to have spin-off economic development opportunities for renting bikes or grocery store type of stuff. And then it'll follow on along the lake. I'm also in negotiations, by the way, with Duke for 8 more acres of land on the lakefront. And I think that one is going to happen. That will secure us all the way around. So we're moving along there faster than I really expected. As far as the money goes, we're still at $1.1 million that's been dedicated, and that's through that Burke, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, Catawba Water relicensing approval of the lake systems. But irregardless, we're moving ahead. We plan on putting trail on the ground as soon as right after Christmas. So we believe the bridge crew is going to come in and start putting a 2 to 3 foot wide rough trail on areas of easements that we have secured. That way, we're preserving the corridor. We're also going to start marking the trail with a orange type of feather marker, and it'll start getting people actually using that path. All right. The master plan itself is divided up into several sections. So we have an executive summary that just basically summarizes the things that I just told you. It provides general information about the trail, what it's going to look like, talks about trailheads, amenities, what the design is. Basically, the design, if you recall, is going to be 5 feet wide, natural surface. It's going to be limited to 5 to 10% slopes as you go around, which is going to make it extremely family-friendly. The other thing that I want to keep harping on is that this trail is a community ribbon. This ties together all the elements of Lake James. If you could really imagine that in 2000, 2004, when there was lots of fun going on and good heated debates in this room, nobody was really talking about those things that could tie everything together and all the diverse groups. But the groups that I talk about see the Loop Trail as the element that can actually change things and start building the Lake James community through a common source. So the plan goes on further. It shows a map, and like I said, the map is going to change a lot, so I'm going to have to update that periodically. It also goes into detail, and the details that are most important in the plan are the individual trail sections with descriptions. So it talks about the overall land ownership, who owns the land in each section. Is it Duke Energy? Is it Burke County? Is it Wildlife Resources, Crescent Communities, etc.? It talks about the connecting trails, be it Mountains to the Sea trails or other shorter spin-off trails going down to other amenities like canoe, kayak, launch area, fishing piers, things like that. There is an additional section that talks about the lake views. So a lot of our heated discussions in the group have come about by the trail not being along the lake shore the whole way. Of course, we have to secure easements where we can get them in order to make the trail work, but lake views are what it's really all about. We have really done, I think, a good job in bringing a lot of views of Lake James from the trail now. And when you're thinking about the trail, you have to remember also that all the views of Lake James are not going to be off of just the Lake James Loop Trail. A lot of the views will be from the adjoining trails that will go all the way down and around Long Arm. So once you're down and around Long Arm on all those previously purchased state lands, you're going to have complete views of the whole lake just off of that. So we have to remember to take those into consideration because those are being designed and tied in to the Loop Trail as well. We talk about facilities and services, where the parking area is going to be, where are you able to get supplies or a Coke or something like that, where are the bathrooms and things that we try to spell out that, but it's in a very general sense right now. We won't know all the amenities that each trailhead will offer until we start moving further into the implementation planning parts. We describe opportunities, you know, things that can happen, like on the county land. We talk about the possibility of there being cabins and things like that. We talk about that as well when you're talking about the state park. A lot of this trail supports the state park and the state park mission, and that's why Carol was so excited, because she sees this trail as something that can actually happen and go on the ground. The only other state trail is the Mountains to the Sea trail, and the Mountains to the Sea trail is far, far from being finished. The Lake James Loop Trail will finish up probably in 5 to 6 years with just a little bit of luck on the North Powerhouse Road. That makes it very attractive to the state park folks because it is offering a region of incredible beauty as well as economic development opportunity that it can bring into this area. The master plan talks about the benefits of the loop trail. I think I've talked enough about that. And it also talks about planning, the construction of the trail, how we will bid those contracts out and how that will take place. How is the management of the trail going to work? And that's going to change, by the way, if it goes under state parks. And that's what we're hoping, is that it goes under state parks and there is somebody appointed as a type of superintendent of the Lake James Loop Trail, even though it's important to understand how this works. So just because it's a state park trail unit, the lands are still privately owned, or they're owned by Crescent, or they're owned by individuals, and that type of thing, but it throws another layer of protection on to those private properties. So essentially, the state passed a law for the trails that said you are treated as a trespasser, and that's your only right. So if you get injured or whatever, something happens, you're trespassing, and that is your right. And so that doesn't give you much to go to court on and argue for suing somebody when you're trespassing on the land. And so that is what they decided to do, the best I understand, to protect property owners. Now, Mountains to the Sea Trail has no private property that's been dedicated to date. We already have 2 that are dedicated, and I believe we have 3 that are getting ready to come on board. So once we have them, I think we're in good shape. And I'm about to finish up here with what is a sustainable trail. It's a trail that is gentle, that's not steep. It follows the contours of the hillsides. It meanders and undulates frequently to remove water from the trail surface. It is slightly outsloped. It requires minimal maintenance. It should be safe, functional, and aesthetically pleasing. And most importantly, the average trail slope is to be less than 10%. Gentlemen,
I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing at this time. Madam Clerk, is there anyone here that'd like to speak to the approval of the Lake James Loop Trail Master Plan? Anyone? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Gentlemen, at this time, any questions for Scott regarding the master plan?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the Recreational Parks and Board, looking for your extended plan for Parks and Recreation, got a short review of this from Scott at their last meeting, so I've seen most of it twice. But Scott, I do have just a couple questions, and I don't know if you have this presentation as we do, but on page 170, by the way, this presentation is 170 pages long, so have to give your eyes a rest a couple of times during trying to digest all of it. But the questions there, you have 1.1 million as a total cost. The figures don't add up to that, and then I see too many TBDs, to be determined there. And I am assuming on this, except I assume if we vote this plan in tonight, that we also vote this budget and whatever budget we're responsible for. And could you break that down for us a little bit?
Yes, sir. That's not a budget, first of all. There is no budget for the trail, essentially, at this time. The $1.1 million is the only money that's been pledged, and it's really pretty much secured, that will be released by Duke Energy. So the way that money will work is the $1.1 million at this point, $500,000 is dedicated to the Lake James Loop Trail. $600,000 is dedicated to the Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail. Now, once FERC gets approval, which we believe will be the first quarter of 2015, there's a year's period of time that we have to wait while they allow for opportunities to challenge the recreational part of the relicensing, okay? During that time, I will request that part of the money be changed to allow more money onto the Loop Trail segment, less on Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail. So after that period of time goes over, and say they make that change, and all of a sudden it becomes $700,000, and $400,000, then Duke Energy will release money to the county. So we will request that they release money to start building the trail, and that will go to Paul Imes. Paul Imes will develop an account, maybe 2 or 3 of them, to start managing the monies released for going to contract or whatever it is. So that's the only money that's budgeted. And it's not even budgeted yet. So.
Well, and another point you made during your presentation, and I think that's important for this board, with the participation of several entities, instead of going way out of the way, it's going to shorten the trail. It's going to put part of it in the state, part of it in Duke Power, which means they will maintain it and not us. So not only does it shorten the trail, shorten the cost, it shortens the maintenance. Is that a correct statement?
The answer is maybe. The trail location changes frequently. But you have to remember that because of the design of the trail is designed purposely to be low maintenance, because one of the killers on trails is to build them to a high standard, and then after they have gone through their life expectancy, and for some of the trails on these paved ones, it may be only 10 years. Well, then I want you to find the money to repave 8 miles of a paved trail, and then you're into a lot of money. Our trail is natural surface trail, which will be minimum to restore and to refurbish. Did I answer your question?
Mostly, yes.
Sort of.
So we don't, if I wanted to ask you the question today, what our cost would be in participating and in this design, the answer is it's a work in progress, and you won't know until everybody approves it and everybody's on board and you get all the grants in line.
That's exactly right, sir. And the other thing to keep in mind is there's been tens of thousands of dollars donated in people's time and energy into just coming up to this point, this far. And every time I turn around, Duke is stepping up with more money and putting more on the ground. So remember, they also have told us they're going to put in an $800,000 road into the county park, which this now, with the reroute, is going to connect into. So another thing, and I can't really say it yet, but there's another, Duke has promised that on the relocation down by the water, they will assist with that and not as part of the other money. Oh, one other thing that's sort of cool. As you go to the existing boat launch, the deepwater boat launch, we've now rerouted that to there, which will become the canoe kayak area in the future. But now we're talking about building a boardwalk as you go around 126 and come around that area. So that would be like a 200-foot boardwalk right there on the lake shore. So that's a big deal. Anyway, I got off subject.
So in approving this plan, we're actually approving the design, and it is subject to change. And before we actually approve the project, it will come back and we'll approve budgets, et cetera.
Yes, sir. What I expect is after the FERC is approved, that will release the first money that we request. The first money we request will be for design and engineering to come in and to start laying out exactly what standards this trail needs to be built to. Those are skills that I don't really have, and that will also clarify the vision of the way the trail will look as you start developing all the way around a 26-mile area.
Mr. Chairman, a question for council.
Sure.
If you look at that motion, JR, and it says to approve the trail master plan as presented, which I think could be interpreted to approve all that, would you suggest a change in wording on that?
I think it's appropriate as it is, because the plan changes from day to day, and basically we're going forward with the concept rather than the specifics of the presentation. So I think we're fine with the resolution as proposed.
All I have, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? If I can have a point myself, I've sat on too many committees over the years, way too many committees. I am very proud to be sitting on this committee. Just like Clark has vision, Scott had a vision, and this vision has come to fruition. We've not had to pay a soul to sit down and take 30 or 40 people together, right, Doc? At a table, 30 or 40 people with Scott as the facilitator to get these people to come to see what that vision is. And we've done well. And Scott has spent many days talking to a number of people in the Lake James area to get them to give us their property. And that's what they've done. Because they all believe in what Lake James is. It's just a jewel in Burke County, and we know it. And it will pay for itself when this project is over with. It is part of economic development. It is part of my community development program that I presented to you a couple of years ago. Community development first, economic development is a piece of community development. Scott, I've never seen anybody work as hard as you have worked as one man with this group to get done what you've got done so far. And it is a work in progress. You always keep us informed of everything that's changing, and it is evolving. It evolves from week to week. And I think, Doc, we can both say that when Duke Power put the money in, we were all shocked that Duke was willing to put that money in, and they're willing to put more money in to the project. So, and when we talk to tourism says our tourism dollars will I don't know that they will probably quadruple what they are now because of the loop trail up there. Wayne, when we get the cabins in that you'd like to see up there and get the trailheads and get the businesses that we've talked to, I don't know what more we can ask for from some one man like Scott sitting down with the vision that he has about this county. And Scott and I have talked hours upon hours about where we would like to see this project go, and I'm proud of where it is right now. So, Mr. Vice Chair, some of these things we can't answer, but I just feel like that this project will pay for itself over time. So that's my comments. Anyone else have anything to say? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, approval of the, make a motion of the approval of the Lake James Loop Trail Master Plan.
All right, you've heard the motion by Wayne. All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed? That'll be 4-1, Madam Clerk.
Thank you,
All
gentlemen.
right, Scott, thank you so much. All right, Madam Clerk, has anybody signed up for informal comments?
No, sir.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Turn that over to Brian Steen, County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you have a lengthy consent agenda. First, clerk reappointments to Council on Aging. Number 2, clerk appointment to Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. Number 3, clerk appointment recommendation for VDEC. Number 4, clerk appointment and reappointment to the Rutherford College Planning Board, Board of Adjustment. Number 5, clerk reappointment to Burke County Planning Board. Item 6, clerk acceptance of CDBG progress reports submitted by Western Piedmont Council of Government. Item 7, clerk designation of voting delegate at NCACC 2015 Legislative Goals Conference. Item 8, COA, Burke County Council on Aging, COA bylaws. Item 9, clerk removal and appointment to Parks and Recreation Commission. Item 10, county manager resolution honoring D. Blackwell, Western Piedmont Council of Government. Item 11, county manager extension of memorandum of agreement with Reason Incorporated, reduce euthanasia and spay or neuter. Item 12, health department, approval of environmental health proposed fee changes. Item 13, human resources, revision to the Burke County Personnel Policy Manual. Item 14, JCPC, approval of changes to JCPC bylaws and funding policy. Item 15, JCPC, appointment of 2 members to the JCPC. Item 16, Tax Office, EMS Collections Report for September 2014. Item 17, Tax Office, Tax Release, Refund, and VTS Report for October 2014. And item 18, Tax Office, Tax Collections Report for October 2014. That concludes your consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. County Manager. What's the pleasure of the board on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve all 18 items.
All right, you've heard the motion by Vice Chairman Taylor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Be 5-0, Madam Clerk. We do not have any items for decision tonight. It's unusual, but we do not. So we'll move on to our reports and comments. Start with over to the left tonight. Madam Clerk?
None for me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Jack?
I hope everybody has a nice Thanksgiving and a fat turkey.
Jeff?
No comment, sir.
Maynard?
It's just good to see our county manager healing so good and back with us, and I echo Jack. Hope everybody has a safe, happy Thanksgiving Day.
And I'll echo those two, and I think we got a lot to be thankful here in Burke County. I think we live in a great county, a lot of great things happening. Just really thank staff for the things that are happening, and Brian, of course, and just go on. I guess here it won't be long. We'll start a new year and continue these good things.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for the cards and your support when I was having my little episode with the appendectomy. I hope no other parts decide to leave me anytime soon. I do have something, though, of interest, I hope. We've got some updated photographs of the EMS Station 7 that I want to share with you. We're getting closer and closer to completion. I took these pictures Sunday after church. So if you'll go just scroll through them, that's inside the Bay Area. They're inside the building. Another shot there. And that is from the lower, I'm going to say, left side if you're at the back of the building looking forward. But 60 days, maybe 70, somewhere in there, depending on weather, as to when they wrap up things. I've got my fingers crossed. I had hoped we had planned for end of December, but it's looking more probably like January to get that done. But they're moving forward, and I'm excited, as I'm sure you are as well. And I'm not sure that we'll be able to contain the excitement with our EMS folks. They are really, as the building gets near completion, getting excited about it.
Could you give us just a short summary of your trip to Europe?
It was cold, rainy. The folks of Norway, I was taken to visit all the factories that Equinix operates in Norway to see all their processes, and I was very pleased and flattered at the hospitality that was extended to me by Equinix and its employees. Beautiful city, and I think the people there are very similar in nature to the folks of Burke County, is kind and considerate and easy to get along with. I was really astonished with that, and although our hills aren't quite as high as theirs are, there are significant similarities in that the terrain as well. So I'm fortunate that that was part of BDI and was able to go on that trip and hopefully make some connections with those folks. Some things I can't really discuss in open session, but very good trip. Thank you.
Good. Mr. Attorney.
I don't have any comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, my closing comments will be short. First of all, the election process is over with, and the Board of Commissioners wishes to extend their congratulations to Maynard and Wayne. Thank you both for being here with us for 2 more years. We're proud of you, and I'm sure that you're glad that, or 4 more years, excuse me. I'm 2 years, you're 4 years. So
Startled Maynard there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about me and you, Jack and Jeff. Yeah. But I'm glad you're here and glad that's over with, and I know you both are kind of glad it is. As far as Thanksgiving, I'm thankful that Brian, the doctor told me while we were over there that if Brian had waited about 2 more days, he would have been in serious trouble. But I guess I'm most thankful is I won't have to see him walking around in that gown anymore. I saw his backside way too much. So we're thankful for that. So, and I think that's about all I have. I got a big note here. It says, "Don't skip me, ha ha." Let's do the vacancy announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have the following vacancies on county boards and committees: Hickory Regional Planning Commission, Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee, Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, the Burke County Planning Board, Library Board of Trustees, Morganton Board of Adjustment for the ETJ, Voluntary Agricultural District Board, and the Burke County Parks and Recreation Commission. We also have state vacancies at the North Carolina Museum of Art, the Cemetery Commission, Environmental Management Commission, and the North Carolina Finance Agriculture Authority.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And for those of you that are watching on TV again tonight, I encourage you again to take advantage of these vacancies on these committees. They help us out a lot, and I'm sure you would feel very privileged to be on one of these committees. So take advantage of this. CK, call K, or either take a look on the website at the vacancies that we have open. We have a need to go into closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege and discuss threatened or pending litigation, discuss economic development matters, and discuss personnel matters as authorized by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, paragraph A, 3, 4, and 6. I have a motion to go into closed session. Have a motion by Wayne. Let's take about a 5-minute break before we go into session. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
motion with adjourn.
All right. Everybody back. All right, we had a proper motion by Wayne to come out of closed section, and no action was taken, and Maynard has now made a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Wherever you hang out.
Chilly out there.